Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and today we are talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars and how they have once again got a positive coaching staff update. Monday was a great day for the Jaguars in terms of the coaching staff front. They were able to get Grant Udinski to essentially fast track his way to sticking with the Jaguars for 2026 when he pulled his name out of consideration for the Cleveland Browns head coaching job. As of this recording, maybe something changes, between the time this recorded and you listen to this, but the time of this recording, the Browns have not hired another coach, so they haven't hired Nate Shieldhouse yet. They haven't hired Jim Schwartz yet. They haven't hired Todd Monken yet. They seem to appear to be the other guys in the running there. But Grant Udinski said thanks, but no thanks. I know there's been some counter reporting from some in Cleveland circles. To my understanding, it's just not true. The Jaguars, had been working with Grant Udinski. They wanted to keep him, and Grant Udinski, at least from what it appears, prefers the Jaguars offensive coordinator job to being the Cleveland Browns head coach right now. Then the Jaguars got even better news on Tuesday. The Buffalo Bills promoted offensive coordinator Joe Brady to head coach in a surprising move. A lot of people thought maybe Brian Dable. A lot of people, thought maybe potentially Davis Webb had a chance. But ultimately, the Bills go with their offense coordinator the last few years. It very much so felt like their owners, trashed the coaching staff and essentially the voice that the team has had for the last couple of years. Just about a week or so ago, they moved on from that pretty quickly and went ahead and hired one of McDermott's top staffers. My stance on it, it's obviously, pretty, closer to being negative than anything. I think Brady's an okay candidate, but I think you're Buffalo and you're going to fire Sean McDermott. I just don't see how much different it is retaining Dermott and just running him back with Brady another year. Nonetheless, turned out to be a big win for the Jaguars. The 2026 season is still some time away from kicking off, but the Jaguars got their first win of the season right there. By hiring Brady, the Bills made it official that Grant Udinski, who is getting a pay bump from the Jaguars, will remain on Liam Cohen's staff for 2026. And we've gone over all the reasons why this is so important. The work he did with the quarterback room, the work he did with Trevor Lawrence. He was as hands-on with Trevor Lawrence as I think a coordinator can be, especially one who isn't calling the plays. He looked like he was just another part of that quarterback room in many facets, out on the Jaguars practice field. And we only see so much of what's going on, on the grass at the Middle Electric Center. We don't know, everything that's being said between these guys in private and whatnot, but it definitely appeared, from at least my view, that Trevor Lawrence was a massive Grant Udinski fan. He that answer that he gave a couple weeks ago when I asked him at a press conference about how much Grant Udinski has helped him just in terms of the way he prepares. It's stuff I heard from people in Minnesota when Grant got hired, and it's stuff, I heard in the Jaguars locker room throughout the year this year. It's just, Udinski works at a different level than a lot of people. He's an old soul in a lot of ways, for a 30-year-old. And he was absolutely a critical piece. Just because he isn't calling plays for the offense. And just because Liam Cohen is. Doesn't mean, he didn't play a prominent part in the Jaguars offense getting turned around. He did. And all you really have to do, I think, is just watch him out of practice, the command that he has. Liam Cohen as the head coach, he can't afford to just sit there next to the quarterbacks all practice and break it down with them. You watch Liam at practice, and he's doing what a head coach is supposed to be doing. He's going around the entire practice field. He's checking in on everybody. And obviously, he'll pay some attention to the quarterback position. But Udinski really seemed like, his liaison to that part of the team. And I think it's important for the Jaguars to understand that ultimately it's hard to believe lightning will strike twice with Udinski. And by that, I'm saying that I think the Jaguars have to go into the season knowing that it's likely their last season with Grant Udinski on staff. He got a ton of offensive coordinator interviews last year despite being an assistant quarterbacks coach, not even a quarterbacks coach. And he gets 3 if you want to count getting 2 at Cleveland. 2 different teams interview to be a head coach this offseason. After, it's not like he had just called plays this past season. He obviously played a big and important role, but impact isn't as clear as a candidate who is calling plays, like a Clint Kubiak or Joe Brady, whatnot. The Jaguars need to expect him to be garnering a ton of interest a year from now. The Jaguars need to expect going into the season that they know this is kind of obviously not last run. It's Liam Cohen's second freaking year, but that they understand the band's back together, and it's back together for now, but how long is it going to stay that way? Because teams are going to be calling. And then on the other side of it, you have Campanile. The Jaguars said in their statement that both coordinators had agreed to new terms with the Jaguars. So you're assuming Camp, like Udinski, got a pay raise and all of this. He definitely deserves it. The defense went from one of the worst in the NFL the year before, just really a mess during the Ryan Nielsen era, to the top 10 defense last year. It had the right attitude. It was physical. It caused a lot of turnovers. It was scrappy. A ton of guys up and down the depth chart were making plays. He was able to win games with practice squad guys, with second and third stringers, with undrafted rookies, with journeyman veterans. It seems like no matter what holes the Jaguars had to plug at any given point on the defensive side of the ball, they were able to do so last year under Camp. So I've said it a few times, in the last couple of weeks. And obviously, I'll say it again, and preface it just to make sure nobody takes it the wrong way. This isn't at all like a slight or a negative comment towards Grant Udinski, who I have a lot of respect for. But I thought the Jaguars lost Campanile. That would have been a massive blow. They lost Udinski. That would have been big. But at least you still have Liam Cohen. He's still calling plays. They could make a couple easy internal promotions, whatnot. But if they had lost Campanile, that's one where you're probably starting over from scratch on the defense side of the ball. And much like Udinski, I expect Campanile to get a ton of interest next year. He actually got more interviews this year than Udinski got. He got interviews with the Arizona Cardinals. Ended up doing an in-person second interview with them. He got an interview with the Miami Dolphins, the Baltimore Ravens. The camp buzz is clear, and he is going to do phenomenal interviews. I heard, that all impressions that Jacksonville has gotten, via the Cardinals is that Camp was an absolute star in his interview with the Cardinals brass, which is to be expected. You get in a room with that guy for 90 seconds, and he just takes it over. And that's why he's so valuable. That locker room, no. Bill Sheridan said it best before the season started. He said that he thinks the Jaguars locker room had fallen for Anthony Campanile, and I agree with it. And they adore that guy. They're wearing T-shirts with his face, to games. So Jaguars, obviously, a huge win for the franchise, a huge win for Liam Cohen. The season might not have started yet, but the Jaguars are already seeing some things start to trickle and go their way. But regardless, Anthony Campanile, Grant Udinski. They are coming back for the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2026.